losing control. I'm seeing red. Watch you rise, watch you fall. Now I'm about to break. Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain. Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fixed Fights podcast with Kurt and Ben. As always, I'm Kurt. I'm here with my main man, Ben. What's going on, dude?
Not a lot. Just chilling, talking about MMA, pumped about it. Congratulations, by the way. Kurt's now a first degree black belt, which is, I will say, man, in my head, I always picture just any black belt with a stripe or more on his belt, I picture as an old man. So I don't know if you feel old, but that's a big deal, man.
I guess for BJJ, I feel a little bit old. I started training all the way back in like 2005. I mean, it's a long time, man. This one felt pretty big. Obviously, you know, I've gotten tons of stripes in my life, but you know, jiu-jitsu, there's only 5 belts, right? So every belt takes a while. Once you get to black belt, it's 3 years between degrees, like you said. So yeah, I definitely feel good about it. It was a pretty big accomplishment, so I'm happy. I got to go down to Florida, catch some rays. It's always nice being back there. But I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to be talking MMA. We were talking about it before the show, dude. There is a lot of moving parts right now. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, big time. And it's all like the 3 major North American promotions just like churning out content. It's not all UFC. That's why I feel like a little bit overwhelmed as like a hardcore MMA fan. It's like, oh fuck, there's a lot of good MMA to watch and talk about.
There really is a lot of stuff going on. Let's start off happy this week, Ben. And let's start off not in the sport of MMA. Let's talk about boxing. And let's talk about the man, the legend, Anderson Silva. You know, dude, you know what's crazy? If you look back at Anderson Silva, and you know what I think it is for me? I think Anderson Silva has done so much good in his career that you forget how long ago the good was. I mean, dude, since the first Weidman fight, and I don't even have his record pulled up right now, but probably since the first Weidman fight, it's been pretty rough going for Anderson. But again, he's just done so much good. And now, you know, it's like the last couple of years, what I'm trying to say, and what I'm beating around the bush to, is like, it's the last couple of years, like going into his fights, like there's no more of like that happiness and excitement, really. It's a lot of it is just, you're feeling like, what's going to happen now? Is he going to get knocked out? Is it going to be another sad night? But dude, Anderson goes over to boxing, and say what you want about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., we could talk about him and his fuck-ups. But, dude, he goes into another sport against a former champion with 60 pro fights and puts it on this dude at 46 years old after having such a rough go about it his last couple of years in MMA. Dude, I am blown away from how Anderson Silva looked and how I feel about it now a couple days later, dude. I was, like, glowing all weekend about it. It was so good.
Yeah, that's what makes him special, dude. He, like, comes through in these spots. And yeah, you're right. Like looking at his Tapology record, there's a whole lot of red. He has that one win over Derek Brunson which
he probably should have lost.
Exactly, in 2017. So really back to the first Chris Weidman fight. I mean, he has a win over Nick Diaz, I guess, in 2015, but it was overturned, I guess. And then did he test positive then too?
Yeah. Yep.
So who knows? But man, if you even look at his career, I would even venture to say that Anderson Silva started declining out of his prime around even 2010, like the Damian Maia fight in there. And he just threw sheer, this is why him beating, yes, he's a slovenly, out of shape, didn't prepare at all, Julio Cesar Chavez, but like you said, he's a boxer, 60 pro fights. I think the fact that Anderson Silva was able to stay relevant for so long after I think he was out of his athletic prime and defend his title 7 or 8 more times.
Yeah.
I think this is we're seeing it here. He's a competitor. He clearly loves combat sports. I get that out of him more than almost anybody else other than maybe even GSP says he loves martial arts, right? But he admits to being nervous and scared.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva brings that excitement that he is loving what he's doing and he's about to do something awesome. I didn't watch all this fight. I just saw highlights, but the clips I did see made him look pretty fucking cool.
Dude, he looked great. I mean, he was doing some vintage stuff, calling Chavez in. Dude, I thought his head work, mix those up. Head movement and footwork both looked pretty damn good. I thought his hand speed was good. Chavez missed weight. Chavez, dude, Chavez would rather sit on his couch and smoke weed than get out and train. But there was a time when this man was a world champion. Dude, Chavez in Mexico is getting booed out. Anderson Silva's getting, just cheered. It's, he's one of, I truly think he's one of those transcendent athletes in MMA. I think you can clearly say that. I think he's just so well respected in all walks of life. Man, I'm happy for him. I thought he looked awesome.
Yeah.
And they almost tried to screw him. There's no way that fight was a split decision. Anderson won that probably 6-2 if you're being generous, 5-3, but that's a clear win for Anderson Silva.
Yeah, he does. I feel like he's a transcendent star because of all the things you just said, right? But I think sometimes people get lost in like comparing Anderson Silva to the other the Fedors, the GSPs, the John Jones, and you get in. Yeah, he's different. You get in you look at his record and it's like, well, was Chael Sonnen really that good? Damian Maia's a welterweight, right? You can like pull apart his title defenses and be like, well, he's not actually that great. But dude, he brings something to the table that other people don't, I think. And it's that like complete it factor. He like has it in spades, even being this old, clearly out of shape, like out of his shape, I should say, 46 years old, doing cool shit. I'm all about it. And I assume he's going to keep maybe doing stuff like this. I
have to assume they're gonna make the Roy Jones fight. I mean, they've been flirting with that idea for years. Roy Jones didn't look all that bad against Mike Tyson. I'm all for that fight. I thought Anderson looked awesome. You want to put that together? Another 8-round fight? I'm all for it. I love the idea of it.
Yeah, they've been talking about fighting since like 2010, probably.
Long time. And again, he was always kind of getting blackballed by the UFC. So, I mean, now's the time. I think a lot of boxing fans respected what he did. And again, Roy Jones didn't look too bad, so let's put it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I think I even said this after the last fight. Hell, man, especially after that, I'd watch Anderson Silva box Mike Tyson. Why the fuck not? You know what I'm saying? There's no story there, but hey, Mike looked pretty good. Anderson looked good. Why the hell not?
It'd be big. I don't know if Mike would ever do that. Maybe.
I mean, he said he still wants to fight again. They're flirting with that Holyfield idea, which is also awesome. But I don't know. Keep it fun, especially with when these guys actually take it seriously, right?
Yeah, I think Anderson took it seriously too. I mean, it sounds like he saw more of the fight than I did, but
he looked good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Man, there's a lot to get to. How about this? How about I guess we could This one was kind of crazy. How about you watch PFL? Yeah, what was it last Thursday? Main event. Rory McDonald, I thought clearly beat Gleison Tibau, and he gets a bit of a screw job. I believe they had Tibau by split decision. I thought Rory clearly won that fight, 2-1. I thought you could have even argued for 3-0. Tibau had some moments, but I just think Rory controlled most of the fight and where the fight went.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to find the scorecards, but I'm almost positive I remember reading this, that 2 of the judges gave the first round to Tibau, which that was the round that was competitive on the feet. Tibau did land at like one clean, like counter uppercut on McDonald, but for like 2.5 minutes, McDonald was on Tibau's back, like threatening a choke and peppering him with strikes. 2 judges gave McDonald that round. This is one of the more egregious decisions, I think, in a few years, at least on a big stage that I can recall.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know Rory's pretty upset about it. I guess the one good thing that we get is we're gonna get a Ray Cooper, Rory McDonald fight.
Yeah, in the first round. So there is a bit of a silver lining there, and I feel like if anybody's listening or watching the podcast for the first time, we are not the type of people that yell robbery very often. We're very right? Because almost always there's things are up for interpretation, but dude, I don't see how this fight went Tibau's way.
Yeah, don't see how it went his way at all, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, we do get Ray Cooper, Rory McDonald, so that's going to be a banger. Again, that brings a lot of it brings a lot of intrigue to that opening round of PFL playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Ray Cooper misses weight, but he does get a win in the co-main event. If you're just looking down the card, Tom Lawler gets a win and retires. Pretty fun card. PFL is putting out a lot of good content.
Yeah. I want to look at let me see if I can find their like schedule because I assume they kind of have a break coming up because their playoffs don't start. Yeah, they're gonna have like all of July off,
And
and
then they
then
come back in August.
so they got one more card here this Friday that we're gonna talk about, and then they come back in August.
I mean,
Man, I want
why don't we just hit on PFL right now? How about that?
to.
Instead of
Yeah,
jumping
let's do
back
it.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? They're actually coming on Friday night, which is a little bit different, going head to head with Bellator. So that's a new head to head that we haven't seen at least in a while. We're always usually pretty into like the Bellator UFC head to head. So
Right.
this is kind of cool. Main event: Kayla Harrison taking on Cindy Danzois. I mean, what can you say? Danzois has a lot of experience. She's fought some tough fighters, but I mean, everything we've seen so far from Kayla Harrison, this is screaming mauling, I would say.
Yeah, this is some wild matchmaking because so if you look closer, Cindy Dandois on Tapology, record of 16-6. So you think, all right, that's pretty good. And if I recall, she had one fight in the UFC that she looked horrible in. But
Yeah.
so Cindy Dandois, like, look at her this string of wins she had before she got in the PFL. So she lost her first fight in the PFL against Caitlin Young. No shame in that, by the way.
Nope.
But then the string of wins she had to get into the PFL, her opponent's records were 0-1, 0-1, 0-0, and 1-2. And then before that, Cindy Dandois had lost 2 in a row to legitimate, like bigger, like lightweight or featherweight fighters. So like, this is some wild matchmaking on the PFL's part. I know they like have some stock in Kayla Harrison here, but this is like the biggest gimme fight she's had, I think, outside of maybe her debut, but I don't even know about that.
This is tough. Again, Cindy Dandois has a record of 16-6 in MMA. But yeah, this feels but again, like it's slim. I guess it's you can argue it's slim pickings, right? Like who can they really throw at her that is going to be any sort of challenge at 155 for females? There's just not a lot out there. I think they should have ran her out at 145 for this tournament.
Yeah, because
if you want to maximize on her, make her make weight. Add that factor into it. Because right, the big fights are going to be at 145, whether it's Amanda Nunes or Chris Cyborg.
Yeah,
I can't see either of those two ladies going up to 155 to fight Kayla Harrison.
And she showed that she could make 145 pretty easily. She had that one fight in Invicta. I'm looking at this women's lightweight division PFL. There is they have one, like Taylor Guardado is a wrestler, but if you look at her record, she's only 1-1, and she had like one fight years and years ago and then just came back to MMA. And it's like, I would love to see Kayla Harrison fight somebody with that caliber of wrestler as Taylor Guardado. The thing is, though, Guardado is like so inexperienced in MMA that give me Kayla Harrison against like a 10-5 wrestler, some shit like that. I'd like to see her against somebody who can like really grapple and fight the takedown.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
It's
And
not
again,
going to be Cindy Dandois.
It's not going to be Cindy Dandois.
Yeah.
I don't think Cindy Dandois probably even makes it out of the first round. But I mean, here's the thing that we can look forward to, right? I feel like every Kayla Harrison fight, we've I think been more and more intrigued by her, right? So this probably gives us another level of intrigue if she goes out there and destroys Cindy Dandois. Maybe she gets into some sort of adversity, probably not, but it's live mauling on TV.
Yeah, it's true. And she cuts a pretty good post-fight promo lately.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she's been good. Anthony Pettis in the co-main event. I don't know. Let me see if they have the standings up here.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what he needs to do, but
so
I know
Pettis has no points right now.
So let me see.
But if he gets a first round finish, that jumps him ahead of pretty much everybody else right now. So I think Pettis got to be gunning for a finish.
I think so. I'm sure they'll tell us. Let me see. Lightweight. So
Because
it's six. It's 6 points for a first round finish, right?
yes, yep, correct.
And yeah, I don't know. I gotta have to look at who else is fighting on here, but
The dude
yeah, if
he's
he
fighting,
gets,
Rausch Manfrio, is currently in the playoffs right now with 3 points. So this is a big fight for him as well.
yeah, I think, yeah, this is where it gets tricky, where these guys have to get finishes to extend their year.
I like it though. It gives you like something to actually look into and look forward to. And again, we talked about it last week, but two-time champion Lance Palmer taking on Movlid Hasbulaev. Lance Palmer is on the outside looking in right now, and again, that's Lance Palmer has no points. He's still alive. Shaman Moraes has 5 points. He is the last spot right now. So Lance Palmer himself needs a first round finish. A lot of intrigue.
Yeah. Do you think like I'm so curious. We talked about it last week. What does a Lance Palmer look like that has to finish? And I assume he's just going to try to maybe get a quick sub here, hopefully, but I don't see it happening against Movlid Hasbulaev is 16-0-1, crazy knockout artist.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard for old Lance.
I mean, Hasbulaev, all he need. Here's the thing: Hasbulaev, all he needs is a decision, and he hops Shaman Moraes. So, yeah, it's going to be tough to put this guy away in the first round, but we shall see. Stranger things have happened. I don't know what an ultra aggressive Lance Palmer would look like or could look like because you generally don't see it.
Yeah, this could, not to get too off topic, I feel like this could, if Lance Palmer loses, or assuming he doesn't get the finish even, this could open the door for him going elsewhere. But if he loses twice, like the UFC is not going to be like banging down his door to come fight for them. Maybe I could see Bellator picking him up.
Dude, I'd love to see Lance Palmer head over to Bellator because that 145-pound division is stacked.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, and I could see that happening really easily.
Absolutely.
Really.
I think his stock, even if he does lose or wins and doesn't make the playoffs, I think his stock still will be pretty high. He just made another comment saying that PFL is doing nothing to salvage their relationship. So yeah, I think he's going to be on the move.
Yeah.
All right, let's head back to Saturday night now. UFC took place from the Apex. It was Chan Sung Jung in the main event, the Korean Zombie defeating Dan Ige by pretty clear decision. Different kind of fight from Zombie. I thought Zombie looked really patient. He used his wrestling a lot, struck when he had to. I thought it was a really, really just educated performance from him. Not the type of performance that earned him the nickname Korean Zombie.
I think he's still got Zombie in his heart for sure. If Dan Ige had tagged him hard, we would have seen that. But yeah, leaned on his wrestling, had some beautifully timed takedowns, and I think this fight kind of underplays, I think, how good Dan Ige actually is on the ground. Because he's a legit black belt. He's no slouch. Dan Ige usually, unless he's against like a D1 level wrestler, he's going to have the grappling advantage. He didn't here, man. I think that's a huge credit to Korean Zombie's ground game. Like, because it was, I thought, super, super close on the feet. Korean Zombie was maybe edging Dan Ige like with counter strikes, but when they were standing, it felt super competitive. But the grappling, the takedowns, the back control, I thought Korean Zombie's back takes and back control were like on point. Especially again, like against a guy like Dan Ige, who is so far from a slouch.
Yeah, I thought Zombie looked really clean on the mat. Like you said, yeah, definitely pretty even on the feet. But dude, yeah, the back takes are great. He controlled really well. Props to Dan Ige for not getting subbed because I mean there was long stretches of that fight that he was in a really bad spot. But Korean Zombie calls out Max Holloway after the fight. Honestly, any of these guys calling out Max Holloway, your first instinct is just yes, because Max Holloway is so good. But I believe they are trying to rebook that Holloway-Yair fight, which I really like as well. You have any thoughts on who you'd like to see for Korean Zombie, and do you think that Max Holloway fight is actually a possibility next?
I think it's a possibility, considering that the UFC does not like to deal with Yair Rodriguez, it seems. From what I understand, Yair Rodriguez was probably offered a replacement, and he declined. I imagine Yair is holding out for Holloway, right? Like you said, they're still trying to get that to happen. I could totally see the UFC saying, screw you, Yair. Like, we're going to do Max against Korean Zombie because Korean Zombie is easier to work with. And at this point, a bit more of a fan favorite, I think, because he's at least competing regularly. So I'm all in on the Max Holloway fight, and it makes sense for a number one contender fight. Like however the fight between Ortega and Volkanovski shakes out, like have the winner between Zombie and Holloway fight them. But I don't know, man. You look at the rest of the rankings. I mean, Josh Emmett is still out, I believe.
That could be interesting for Emmett's comeback fight. Because remember, he went out on that amazing win over Shane Burgos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what the status. He like tore his ACL, so I don't know.
Yeah,
exactly
he got messed up pretty bad.
Him is otherwise like Arnold Allen, unless there's like some fast rising guy that Korean Zombie wants to take, which sounds ill advised, right?
Yeah.
He should only be kind of fighting up the rankings at this point. I don't know, man. The Holloway fight, Yair Rodriguez competes so irregularly that he's like just kind of out of sight, out of mind for me.
Yeah, that is very true. It's been a long time.
I was gonna say, I know this one wasn't his fault, right? It was a Holloway withdrawal,
Holloway
but
injury, yep.
He just, I don't know, not to be too Dana White about it, but I feel like Dana White probably is like pissed that Rodriguez won't take last second replacements. And almost always I'm of the mindset that like, you shouldn't have to do that. But also this guy is like letting his career kind of slip away with inactivity. So.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, it's been a long while since Yair Rodriguez has been active. And it's crazy that he's still kept his name, relevant in the rankings in the big fights. I mean, he has that big win over Korean Zombie.
Was that his last fight?
No, he had that back-to-back with Jeremy Stephens.
Yes, I forgot.
But again, that was what, like 2019?
Yeah. So yeah, since he had those two fights with Jeremy Stephens, but since Korean Zombie lost to Yair Rodriguez, he's gone 3-1 since then. He's had twice as many fights. I don't know. He's just way more relevant right now, even with the loss to Ortega, kind of fresh.
I mean, this division is stacked to the gills. I think any which way you can go with a lot of these guys, it's going to be fun. Co-main event, Sergey Spivak defeats Alexei Oleinik by decision. A lot of the same in the later stages of the career for Alexei Oleinik. He's either finds something crazy or he kind of gets beat up and either finished or just beat up. I believe that was, 4 in a row for Sergey Spivak. 3 straight L's for Alexei Oleinik. Not much to stay here, man.
I'm not. Oh man, they're gonna Sergey Spivak. I guess is good, but he's a heavyweight that doesn't have power. So it's I'm less excited about him moving forward still, even though he just, he has. I don't know. You just don't see a lot of heavyweights, UFC level heavyweights that are not collecting finishes, even against guys that are good like Alexei Oleinik.
Yeah, agreed. Someone to be excited about, though. Chito Vera defeats Davey Grant by decision. I mean, that fight was fucking awesome. Davey Grant, ultra tough. Dude, it looked like he a damn horror flick after the fight. Man, Marlon Vera looked really, really freaking good.
Yeah, as always, fan favorite. I'm trying to think where he should go next. He's kind of somebody I love to fantasy matchmake for.
Didn't
because
he pull out
any
Dominic
fight
Cruz?
He did. That seems. I would be surprised, but maybe sometimes Dominic Cruz.
Dom Cruz just fought Casey Kenny.
Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't he take Marlon Vera?
That would be a freaking awesome fight. Dom Cruz, Marlon Vera, sign me the hell up.
I would actually enjoy that trash talk too, because they're kind of two sides. Marlon Vera is the most vulgar. I know that guy's a family man, but every other word out of that guy's mouth, when he speaks English at least, is fuck. So I would love to see him go head to head in the trash talk with a super polished Dom Cruz telling him why he's well, actually, you're insecure about yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, love to see it. Last one on the main card for me, I really need to talk about. Called it last week, man, and he delivered. Matt Brown sleeps Dhiego Lima, puts him out cold in the second round. Dude, I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. Nick Diaz is flirting with this return. It's got to be Matt Brown. Matt Brown makes so much goddamn sense. Even if you want to do it at 185. Matt Brown is an aging vet. He's got a couple wins. He's looked really good. Dude, this screams perfection for me.
He called for it. He called for a Nick. He didn't make. I don't know if he called for it, but at least in his post-fight interview, he said he was down to fight either one of the Diaz brothers.
Let's get
So
it, dude.
maybe he's listening to this podcast. I don't
Maybe,
know.
man. I mean, we've been saying it for a while, dude. It makes now, especially, it makes so much sense, dude. I mean, why not?
I think
Look at
it's especially for Nick. Nate, probably not. Nate's a little bit too
Nate,
much of
definitely
of
not.
a star here, but for sure for Nick, because people would still tune in. They're tuning in if Nick Diaz is going to be the A side no matter what, but Matt Brown seems like the perfect foil for him.
Yeah, it's great. You put him with a vet later in his career that still has, some sort of name. It's like it's either that or the UFC will put him in there with some like 14-2 like debuting Russian where they're like, all right, this makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And another thing is like I feel like every week we get a new picture of Nick Diaz with a little six pack or something, some little leak saying he's getting in shape. But
Oh,
I think importantly, Matt Brown is the type of guy that Nick Diaz would accept because
right,
the Diaz
exactly.
brothers, if they don't think you're like a real, whatever their definition of real fighter is, they're less likely to take it. For sure, Matt Brown meets their definition. Look at all the fucking finishes he has. When was the last time he won a decision? Dude, you have to go back to his win over Stephen Thompson in 2012 to figure out the last time Matt Brown won a decision. He lost some decisions in there, but every other win was by stoppage, which is saying something.
Matt Brown's got a crazy career too. It's like, remember, like, yeah, when he beat Stephen Thompson and like that run there, like Matt Brown was a bad motherfucker. I mean, he's still a bad motherfucker, but man, he was a beast. Remember that Eric Silva fight? That was when Eric Silva was like the next dude. He's got Mike Swick back in the day. Yeah, dude, it
was that run 2012 to 2014. He was undefeated until he ran into Robbie Lawler in a main event fight.
Dude, if you book this right, I mean, you can use this fight as a pawn in either a big fight night main event or a pay-per-view co-main or a pay-per-view. Imagine pairing the Diaz brothers up on a pay-per-view. Oh,
yeah, put it on a pay-per-view co-main for Nick Diaz against Matt Brown. I think,
dude, that makes sense.
Huge. Yeah,
it's huge. Anyone else you want to shout out on this card before we move on?
Yeah, the Virna Jandiroba, people got to stop. I know it was kind of a weird stoppage here, but she is so
Her hands look good.
Yes, like she's just now coming around. I feel like we talk about strawweight all the time, and Virna Jandiroba, her name gets forgotten a lot because she lost to Carla Esparza and Mackenzie Dern, like grapplers.
That Dern fight was very close too.
Yes. Oh yeah. So I think she's super, super relevant in that division.
I'm very high on her too. Rick Glenn coming back. I guess now Ricky Glenn coming back, man. But dude, I've always been a big fan of Ricky Glenn, whatever you want to call him. I was happy to see him get a dub. Dude, Casey O'Neill in the main card opener. Keep your eye on her, dude. She
for sure.
She put it on Laura Procopio.
Dude, I gotta find when I said on what podcast, but I feel like I've said it a bunch of times that like look out right now. We all think women's flyweight is rightfully so. It's like not. It's you just got Valentina and a bunch of challengers that seem like no threat. We are coming up 6 to 12 to 18 more months. Women's flyweight is going to be absolutely lit. Women like Casey O'Neill, Erin Blanchfield making her UFC debut, Miranda Maverick moving up the rankings. Like
True.
Flyweight is and we got presumably Jessica Andrade staying at flyweight. Like this division's about to get good. I think I could be wrong, but I think.
I hope so, man. Valentina is one of the most exciting fighters in the sport. It'd be good to have some fresh, hungry, challengers for her. So I'm rooting for it. I think there is a lot of nice pieces in the division.
For sure.
All right, moving on to this coming weekend. We already talked about PFL going head-to-head with them Friday night. Is Bellator. And maybe strategically PFL did this because, I mean, you have Kayla Harrison, right? You have Anthony Pettis in the co-main. If you look at this Bellator card, we've been talking about it lately. Like, their cards have been banger after banger after banger. This card, if you look at it, it's a pretty significant drop-off from what they've been putting out as of recently. Not to say it's a bad card, but just name value, not anyone big on the card.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're kind of doing the just like put heavyweights at the top and do what you can, but yeah, nothing that gets me going. But I mean, Bellator has to have these cards too. They had a long stretch of really great cards. But yeah, I think they're kind of, it's almost like, yeah, they're going head to head with PFL, but they're like they're not going to use their best ammunition on this. They want to use their best card if they want to go head to head with another promotion, probably against the UFC. But
UFC, yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in this heavyweight fight, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I Valentin Moldavsky is another heavyweight who's like less exciting because he doesn't have a huge amount of power, you know?
Yeah.
Tim Johnson, though, does. He had that
Tim,
fucking knockout last year that was like, should have been a knockout of the year contender.
yeah, he slept, was it Mitchell?
Tyrell Fortune was the one
Oh,
I'm thinking of.
yeah. He did sleep Tyrell Fortune, too.
Yes.
3-fight win streak. He does have some power, like you said. It's 5 rounds, so again, it could be a great fight, or it could be, a slot fest by the end where we're all kind of yawning at, 11 o'clock at night. But
Yeah.
it is for an interim title, with Ryan Bader tied up in the light heavyweight tournament. Co-main event, Liz Carmouche taking on Kana Watanabe. This is actually a pretty interesting fight. I think both these women are very close to either title shot or number one contenders fight. So there is some interest there. Daniel Weissel's on the card. Miles Jury is on the card. Yeah, not a bad card, but not their best that they've been putting out lately.
Yeah, no, I'm with that.
And if it's actually all heavyweights this weekend because the UFC's card on Saturday night is going to be headlined by Ciryl Gane taking on Alexander Volkov. Oh, they're doing back-to-back heavyweights as well. Co-main event is OSP taking on Tanner Boser. But if you look at this main event, man, Ciryl Gane, it's crazy because heavyweight is so just jammed up at the top, right? You have what we think is going to be Francis Ngannou defending his title against Derek Lewis. We still don't know what's going on with John Jones. Stipe, from what we have led to believe from Dana White, may be getting the next title shot after the Derek Lewis and Ngannou fight. But, I mean, Gane is coming off a main event against Jairzinho Rozenstruik where he wins. If he beats Volkov, I mean, I think he asserts himself in the upper echelon. I don't think he's going to get a title shot next, but, I mean, he could parlay himself into a big fight with one of these bigger names at the top of the division.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, it depends, I think, a little bit on how he gets it done here. But yeah, it's so crowded up at the top of the division. I don't know why. I would love to see, I don't think Stipe would take it, but I would love to see like the winner of this fight take on Stipe next. But like you said, it sounds like he's like gonna wait out yet again for a title shot. So I don't know. This fight I feel like has potential to be awesome, but also potential to be kind of like tepid. Not to steal, I don't want to steal Daniel Vreeland's analysis entirely, but we were talking yesterday. I was on the prelim primer this week, but we were talking a little bit afterward, and he made a good point that like if Alexander Volkov wins, it's probably going to be exciting. If Ciryl Gane wins, it's going to be a lot less exciting, I think. And I think the reason being is that Gane, from his like kickboxing background, and we for sure saw it in his last fight against Rozenstruik, that if he figures out, all right, I can land an inside leg kick and you're not going to send anything back, all he's going to do is land that inside leg kick as safely as possible. Like that is like the kickboxing mentality. You attack something until your opponent like forces you to not do that anymore. And it doesn't always lead to a knockout. Like if he can safely hit you and not get hit, he's going to take that route. Not that Volkov is like a crazy finisher, but he's much more likely to think, all right, if I can land this inside leg kick, now I'm going to land a right hand after it and knock you out. Like a little bit more of an MMA mentality reflected in Volkov, but super intriguing fight nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and I think Dan hit it on the head. A lot of it, I think, is going to depend on Volkov. I think if he and Volkov of the two is the more aggressive fighter. Rozenstruik and Gane were content with trying to counter each other. I think Volkov is much more aggressive, especially lately. He started to use his reach a little bit more. He's got really good knees up the middle. He's good in the clinch. I also think it could be a staring contest at points. So we'll see. I'm hoping for the former. I hope that Volkov is going to be able to bring the fight out of Gane. Gane can do really good work, but like you said, if he does get into a rhythm where he's exploiting a deficiency, he's going to keep attacking that, right? But man, we'll see. It's a big fight nonetheless. I think if either one wins, I'm with you, dude. I wish that we could be talking about a Stipe fighting the winner, but again, Stipe seems like he's gonna be sitting on the sidelines till he gets another title shot. But John Jones is also in there. I don't know, man. Heavyweight's exciting right now, but it's also so logjam that we don't know how it's going to shake out.
Yeah, I'd also like to see. I assume John Jones is like completely holding out for a title shot first.
Which he should.
But I mean, man, I hope John Jones on Twitter comes out and he's talks some shit against Ciryl Gane or Alexander Volkov. I hope he starts getting impatient and wants to mix it up downward. But yeah, you're right. He should hold out for a title shot. I wish we were talking about John Jones and not Derek Lewis fighting for a title right now.
I know.
But that's beside the point. I think this fight on Saturday is kind of fallen under the radar because for all the reasons we're talking about, like these guys should be kind of a number one contender fight, but heavyweight's so jammed at the top that it's not clear who's next.
I've been saying this for a while. I think guys should be calling out John Jones after every fight. I mean, why not call this guy out?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, both these guys, I could see Alexander Volkov calling him out, but he's way too polite. Like, I feel like he maybe did it his last. It was like, oh, I would like to fight John Jones. Like, yeah, that kind of shit.
Let's see. Co-main event, Tanner Boser taking on Ovince St. Preux. I mean, what can you say? This should be fun fight. Boser's coming off of 2 straight losses to Andrei Arlovski and Ilir Latifi. This feels like a tough fight for him. Unless you get OSP out of there, he's really just crafty. He's tough to beat. He can make you fight at his own pace. I got to think OSP wins this fight, but it should be fun regardless.
I'd like to see. I mean, I could see him getting a weird submission. Maybe not a Von Preux choke, but he's like crafty on the ground at this point in his career. Boser is actually the favorite here.
That's interesting.
Which is actually, surprising. I mean, I could see he's super speedy and maybe a bit more of a natural heavyweight, but OSP might even be bigger than him. Yeah. Because Boser is just natural in that he's not shredded and he's like 240, maybe something like that.
He's not cutting any weight.
Is enormous. I do favor OSP here in what apparently is an upset.
Yeah, I agree. Possibly the best fight of the weekend. Rioni Barcelos taking on Timur Valiev. I'm on Wikipedia right now. This is showing as on the main card. Did you talk about this on the prelim primer?
We did, at least the other day. It was the main event of the prelims.
Yeah, so I don't know if they've changed the order, but right now this is the third fight from the top. I mean, dude, this fight is excellent. Really, really good fight. You broke it down. Tell us about it.
Basically, Timur Valiev came into the UFC with all this hype, lost to Trevin Jones, and I think in retrospect, we were downplaying how good Trevin Jones is. So I don't think there's a ton to take out of that loss, but this is a super, super fun fight. I go with Barcelos just based on the fact that he's a little bit more like steady in the way he attacks. Valiev is super, super dangerous, I think, especially early with his kicking game. Barcelos is kind of long in the tooth for this division. What is he, like 34 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
But he fights consistently, like with pressure and pace. And I see him eventually like wearing down Valiev. But this is a really, really fun fight. Valiev can wrestle too. Don't believe he can't. But I think Barcelos is going to survive the kicking game early and then eventually kind of exploit that in rounds 2 and 3 on his way to like a dogfight decision. This is going to be a hard scrap either way. Even if Valiev like gasses because he's such a finisher and throws so much into his kicks. I think this will be a scrap. Barcelos is an absolute gamer who's like totally under the radar here.
Yeah, I think this fight is absolutely excellent. Andre Fili, Daniel Pineda should be fun. Any other fights on that prelim card that we should be on the lookout for?
Warley Alves and Jeremiah Wells is not going to be a great fight, but it's going to be bananas while it lasts because Warley Alves is fucking crazy in the first 5 minutes, and so is this guy Jeremiah Wells, who's making his UFC debut. So that one, Yancy Medeiros, always fun. Julia Avila against Julia Stoliarenko could be, if it gets into the second and third round, might be really ugly, but it's also going to be one that should be kind of wild initially.
Nice. Shakbat Rachmanov is on this card as well. It's undefeated. Got to keep your eye on.
He's going to demolish Michael Prazeres, so tune in for that.
The height difference is crazy. It's like 5'6" to 6'1" or something wild like that.
Yeah. Prazeres hasn't fought since like 2019. And he's 39 years old, by the way. So
yeah, honestly, a pretty fun card, I think. Again, dude, these weekends where there's three fight cards is really awesome.
Yeah, I'm into it. We're in full swing here, and then like we were talking about, like we'll have PFL off for a little bit in July. Things will slow down a bit as the UFC business kicks up with Conor McGregor coming back for sure.
Also, I believe Gervonta Davis fights this weekend too. If you're into boxing, I feel like he's always again, we talked about this a bunch, but at least boxing wise with that division is so freaking good. I just wish like guys like Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, all these guys, Devin Haney, I just wish they would fight each other. Need to fight.
Lomachenko also fights this weekend.
Yep. He's fighting. Yeah, I mean, a lot going on.
I've been out of my intake of Brazilian jiu-jitsu and submission grappling is like so much now that I feel like boxing has kind of fallen by the wayside for me, but there is really good boxing happening.
Yeah, well, why don't we end on some jiu-jitsu talk? Because, dude, I kind of want to talk about this. We can make it quick, but how about everything going on? I guess it probably happened last week, but I'm wondering if you have any takes and opinions on this with Gordon Ryan, Mojasim from ADCC, a couple other guys were going nuts on it too, but basically accusing Galvao of taking a dive at the, what was it, 2011 ADCC?
2009, I think.
2009 against Robert Drysdale, who then went on to defeat legend Marcelo Garcia in the finals.
Yeah. So it was actually, sorry, I got it wrong. 2007 was the ADCCs. Okay. So yeah, basically people said, I didn't know what the other match that was alleged that Drysdale fixed. But if you watch that Galvao Drysdale match, it does kind of look like a fix. Galvao admitted to it, right? Or he said, "Oh yeah, like I agreed so that we would split the money." And I can't remember who else. There's an interview with Damian Maia where he's basically saying, "Oh yeah, they split the money," agreeing that Drysdale and Galvao had fixed their semifinal match. But then you've seen accounts from other people saying it was regular for people on the same team to split the money. I don't know. I want to talk to like some old school guy that was actually around then and be like, did people actually split the prize money with their team?
We gotta get somebody on.
Because that seems weird. I mean, it's an individual sport, and I know people are saying, oh, Galvao really needed money then, yada, yada, yada. Maybe, but man, I mean, ADCC has not been above match fixing before, right? What was that Matt Hughes? Wasn't Matt Hughes in an ADCC match where like they wanted to win fastest submission, so they he agreed to like tap really quickly so they would get the bonus.
I wouldn't doubt it.
That kind of shit, but this is real shady, especially for a guy like Drysdale. I respect Robert Drysdale, but
I do too.
He also, I'll say this, he doesn't seem like the type of guy who would for sure not do this, if that makes sense. I mean,
The thing is, though, he did go on and beat Marcelo fair and square in the finals. Tapped him out. Say what you will about the submission, but he caught him. He finished him. So, I mean, that one is legit. I don't know. It did seem a little bit fishy in my eyes, especially when he got to Galvao's back. I mean, Galvao wasn't even really hand fighting.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. That was crazy. We do got to get some old jiu-jitsu head on here to BS about it.
I'd be curious. I mean, that's a big drama, even though Drysdale is like not super relevant anymore. I mean, he is a little bit relevant. He came out with a book about like the history of jiu-jitsu, and that's what initially kind of kicked this all off. Is he had, not his book, but he had made a video like months ago that I don't think anybody saw, where he was describing the best teams in jiu-jitsu throughout history, basically. Yeah. And he kind of threw a little bit of shade at Danaher Death Squad, which prompted Gordon Ryan to, that awakens the beast, of course. And then, all this shit about them basically saying, and I do think, I guess we haven't talked about it, but Mo Jassim is like the ADCC head organizer, and he's flat out saying, "Oh yeah, it's well known that they fixed their matches." So it's kind of shitty, man. I hope jiu-jitsu is a sport where like PEDs run rampant and stuff like this can run rampant pretty easily, just because it's a niche, small sport with not a lot of oversight.
I mean, the last thing on it too, it seems as of right now, and this is kind of like we see this in MMA a lot. There's those certain fights where it's like, all right, I'm going to see it when they're actually in the cage. As of right now, it looks like Galvao versus Gordon Ryan is official for the 2022 ADCC. That's another one, though. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, these guys have been, Galvao especially has been playing, hard to get for a while with Gordon. It's like the one guy that Gordon has to fight. Gordon's been dealing with the stomach issues, so maybe this might be his last hurrah. Again, we talked about it. There was no way he was going to stay retired for long with that fight looming. So you think we're actually going to see this fight? And if we do, how do you see it going?
I would pick Gordon Ryan to beat Galvao, unless, of course. And especially if he's out. Like, the only reason why I would pick something otherwise is if I saw like a chink in his armor. Because I mean, I don't know if you heard, but they were planning that there's a Road to ADCC show for July, and initially that was going to be Gordon Ryan against Cyborg in the main event. That fight was signed and everything. So unless, like, if that match had happened and you see, well, maybe Cyborg gets to Gordon's back or something, then I think maybe it's going to be competitive. But I don't see how Galvao beats Gordon Ryan in a submission only. Maybe if he could finagle some rules. He does have really good takedowns, but Gordon Ryan is peak competitor. He's not going to get out rule setted here.
Well, yeah, it would be interesting with if he did get to the points. Are the ADCC super fights, are they just sub only, or is it traditional ADCC rules with like the last 5 points?
I thought it was, I mean, they're 30-minute matches, I think, but I thought it was,
it probably
just, it's actually a great question.
That's a good question, something to look for. Regardless, though, yeah, I favor Gordon. I really do hope we see it. I think there will be a lot of trash talk. It may get ugly leading up to that, but man, I mean, it brings eyes to the sport. I think rivalries in the sport of jiu-jitsu are good. I think it's great when people start noticing.
Yeah, and there's a team aspect to this rivalry, like Atos and DDS. Not that the other DDS guys are pretty like friendly with their Atos counterparts, but yeah, rivalries.
They do match up a lot, though.
Oh yeah, a ton, because they have it makes sense. They're 2 of the elite teams. Staying on jiu-jitsu, dude, I will say Taira Ruotolo is the fucking future. Yeah. I know he lost to Craig Jones last weekend, but gave up like 20 some pounds and was attacking non-fucking stop, and it forced Craig Jones to like basically play his B game, which was like use his weight and try to pass guard for most of the match. Dude, I think Taira Ruotolo in another year or 2 years beats Craig Jones. That kid is so fucking good.
I picked him to beat Craig Jones in this fight.
I mean, yeah, it was,
dude.
I honestly, I don't know if you watched it live, but
I did.
I guess I know who's number 1 rule sets. They do, like, the judging criteria does award guard passing and positional advances. But if you go just on like submission attempts or submission threats, Craig Jones really only had 1 deep threat, whereas Ruotolo was like constantly attacking, and not all of them were close, but he's constantly cranking on straight ankle locks. He's just like going after everything. And dude,
him and his brother too is just all out. They're crazy. They don't get tired. Their pace is just insane. They're good from the back. They're good with wrestling. I mean, I've been watching those kids. They were putting out videos when they were like, it's crazy, like 8-9 years old, and now like 10 years later, it's like you finally see like what they become. They're like insanely hard to submit. They're good in the leg lock battles. Dude, those kids are fucking phenomenal. They're 18 years old.
Yeah,
it's wild.
I can't remember if we talked about it on this podcast, but I interviewed JT Torres, who told me a story that in 2011, so that means they were 8 years old then, he gave a private lesson to the Ruotolo. He didn't know who they were. He knew maybe they were kind of a big deal or whatever as kids. Gave a private lesson to the Ruotolo brothers. And he told me that back then in 2011, they felt like male, like adult blue or purple belts.
Crazy.
Like he was like, holy shit, these kids move and feel like you're grappling with a true like purple belt.
Yeah, they're really freaking good. Did either of them have fights on the road to road to ADCC card?
I don't think so. I would imagine, and then who's number one has like a big 2-day kind of like tournament situation going on in September, I think. But I don't think either one of them are on that road to ADCC card actually, which is kind of surprising.
They should be
Yeah.
because they are two of the most exciting grapplers in the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we got to get a jiu-jitsu guy on soon to really talk some jiu-jitsu for our jiu-jitsu fans.
We could definitely swing that for sure.
For sure. Did we miss anything? Any fights we should be talking about? Anything crazy?
I think that's all the big news.
Yeah, same. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Remember, Friday night PFL and Bellator, Saturday night UFC. There is some good boxing going on with Gervonta Davis, so take it all in. Please hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to us. We're all over the place. We appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Step to this. Face the pain.